I became very hyper focused on how a sports organization was run at the age of 10 years old. I'm a big firm believer that you can't lose yourself. And it's almost something that is really refreshing that as you kind of live in this hurricane of emotions and everything else and what's going on, um, that part of you never changes at like the fire and core of who you are.
He's got a life that is full of sports. Brands are surrounding him in his office. That is a day in the life of Andrew Stallings. He is founder and president of Athelo Group, and he joins me on the Sports Media with a Human Touch podcast. This is a sports media podcast that also looks at the human sides of those who work in the industry of sports. So glad, Andrew, to have you on, man. I know you're mid U.S. Open. You've been out there in New York. You've got a lot of things going on, a lot of meetings to find some time with you. Really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate the time and the outreach, Brian. It's a treat and look forward to catching up.
The office that you're in, first of all, it looks like you are yourself, where you're able to be comfortable in your surroundings. It looks like you've got, the basketball hoop behind you. When you're at a place that you like to work and it feels comfortable, how does that bring out the best version of yourself?
Yeah, I mean that's a great starting point. I've had the rare luxury and privilege over my career to sit in a lot of rooms, sit at a lot of tables, some of which that I certainly had no business being at, just in terms of a lap of luxury and style and presence that sometimes accompanies, the people that join those kind of conversations. But taking a step back, I mean, we started this company 7.5 years ago, almost 8 years ago. And it started with $20 in LLC filing, as I always joke about. And, everything that we have done has been done truly by our own thinkings, our own gut instincts, our morals, our values, and everything in between. The brand that we've developed is a brand and ethos that we live. Not just for our clients, but for our internship program, for our brand sponsorship program. It certainly has definitely been a our terms our way kind of mentality. And even as you mentioned, sitting in, our office that I commonly joke about, it feels like a garage or a warehouse because of how much product we have from all of our, existing partners and beyond. It's a great gift. Like, it's organized chaos, and I think it's a good reflection of kind of what goes on in our minds day in and day out.
How many minutes of your waking hours are you thinking about brand placement and cloud and how do we get the most out of our clients and all of those things work wise that certainly dominate your headspace?
Yeah, I hope my wife's not tuning in because she knows this deep down because it's a common discussion in our relationship. But it's 25 hours a day. And what I mean by that is it's when you build something that you genuinely have so much passion for, it doesn't feel like work, but it doesn't feel like something that you ever want to let go of. You're constantly analyzing and looking at how you can deliver the best version of yourself and results wise for your partners. That's a self-reflection in terms of how you're taking care of your own physical and mental health, day in and day out. How are you best positioning and grooming your team for those same kind of qualities and traits? But then, once you're kind of taking care of like the home, as I call it, then you're better positioning yourself for, how you can be just as sharp as possible. And that really just starts with being always attentive to everything around you. And it's one of the most undervalued skills, I think, in sports. I tell people all the time, it's just paying close attention to your surroundings. Like you don't need to overanalyze things, but you need to be cognizant and aware enough of what's going on so that you can reflect a little bit, right, wrong, or indifferent. It doesn't need to be a math problem. Like, why did that logo go there? And are they equating their spend? And it doesn't need to be all that. But when you start looking at does this fit for, did it grab me as a consumer? Does this work, for this brand? Like, what do you think the results are? You're just constantly left questioning things. And I think inquisitive nature is probably one of the most undervalued skills that has gotten me to where I am, is that I'm always questioning stuff, right, wrong, or indifferent. And I expect, in order to get the best version of myself and my team, people have to do the same to us. And they have to always be questioning, like, what if, what if, what if?
Inquisitive. I would also think you'd have to have a lot of willpower. When you are building something, and as you have for several years now, what type of willpower does it take to see something, to envision it, even though it hasn't happened yet, even though maybe your inner circle says this is possible that you can do it, but there might be other people that are like, how is this going to work? That you know in your heart that this will work regardless, even when it's at the very beginning, when not a lot of people know how and where or in what way this is going to all pan out.
Yeah. It's hard to answer because this doesn't feel real to me every day. Almost 8 years into doing this, almost 20 years in my career in sports and entertainment, from Sirius XM to Octagon to, big brands like Anheuser-Busch and Constellation, to this. I still feel like the ripe 24, 25-year-old that's still grinding and hustling. It still has a lot to prove. We're very fortunate enough, in myself especially, that I get to portray and be at the forefront of such a successful venture to date, but it's so far from, even in my mind or anyone else's mind around me, that we're even close to success right now. For all intents and purposes, we have a lot to celebrate. We have a lot of things to reflect on and to be proud of. And, yeah, I have my family and my wife and my friends that are just like, oh, you're doing it. You did it. Oh my gosh. And, maybe when I'm 105, I can reflect on that. But for right now, I I have so much work still left to do, and our team does as well, that, our goals are not measured by, oh, how much deal flow we have, how much capital we have. It's an honest part why we've turned down a few different acquisition offers, because that's not how we're measuring success. The fact that we're able to dictate and control what we want to work on, how we want to work on it, and that we can kind of reposition our skill sets and focus as the industry evolves and changes. That's such a gift. And that, that's the best reward that I could have and my team can have day in and day out. We're not just an athlete management firm. We're not just a brand sponsorship agency. We're continuously evolving as the industry evolves, with us day in and out. So, to go back to your statement on willpower, I mean, it's a renaissance. We're living in a renaissance of sports and entertainment and overall as a world right now. And if you don't see it that way, then you're one of many that are sitting on their couch and probably thinking, oh my God, the world owes me something. It's so hard. It's so hard. But do you want to be part of the problem or the solution? I don't know. That's just my mindset, and it's always been that way. Like, no one owes me anything, and I've been very fortunate enough to live a life that many would think is, a lap of luxury. But I'll be damned. Like, I've worked really, really hard to get here, and we've only just begun.
The problem solving, finding solutions, the looking at life and seeing it differently than others, especially with the mindset of that which is the basis of your company. How early in your life can you imagine yourself seeing things different than the masses or having ideas that might be contrary to what, yeah, the body, the group, the majority of people have, where you had this early desire to want to step outside of the norm and go for it and try new things?
I can tell you exactly when. 10 years old, Roanoke, Virginia, third grade.
Wow.
And the exact moment was that I was born and raised in Southeast Virginia, Tidewater, Virginia, for those very in tune to geographic specifically. My dad was a very well-known executive banker and was just moved to a new branch on the complete opposite side of the state. So I'm in third grade, pretty critical age time, for development and stuff like that. We picked up me, my mom, my dad, we moved to Roanoke, Virginia. And at that time, I remember distinctively, I'm learning how to like write letters in cursive. Curriculum wise, I'm at a certain skill set. I go to Roanoke and I feel like everyone is at least 6 months to a year up on me, just socially, maturity wise, and academically. I remember going to school vividly on the first day, and they slide over an assignment in class, and it's like write out this entire assignment in cursive in a paragraph, and I'm like, I barely know how to write three letters in cursive. Like, whoa, this isn't good. So I went from being a very socially like driven and funny kind of enigma as a kid to all of a sudden having the tables turned and I was being bullied, I was being pushed around. I had a tough time making friends at that point in my life. So 3 to 4 months into that transition, my mom was going through beginning a pretty significant battle with multiple sclerosis. My dad was working crazy hours. I was being bullied. It was a tough time. And I'll never, again, I give all the credit to my dad in my career because in that moment he recognized that and he said, I got season tickets to the minor league hockey team in town, the Roanoke Express, which are like a double A hockey team. And we're gonna go to every home game, son. Like it'll be our thing. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I'll be damned for that year and a half, 2 years we lived in Roanoke. That was our thing. And it wasn't that we just went to the games and I sat in a chair and was like, oh, this is great. I just felt like that was my home. Like socially, I felt like one with the fans. I became drawn into the fan and game day experience. The cheerleaders were like, "Oh, it's little Drew." Like, and then I would be down in the tunnel high-fiving players, and they're these like young 20 play like something players. So like they're really like kind of engaged more on the community standpoint in the minor leagues. And I became very hyper focused on how a sports organization was run at the age of 10 years old. I looked at things, I looked at marketing, I looked at business, I looked at players, and I was starting to begin to study it, which like most people, even who have been working in sports for 2 or 3 decades don't traditionally look at. I was looking at it through a very, very, very unique lens. And it was at that time where I kind of made the career goal to myself. I'm like, one day I'm going to own a minor league hockey team. 37 years old today, I can sit here and tell you it is the last thing on my career list that I haven't. I have done everything else from my career standpoint. I've checked every box, and man, I'm so proud of it. But that's the one last thing I've yet to do is to be an owner in some capacity in a minor league hockey team. And I am working on it pretty actively right now. So, that moment was big for me though, for sure.
So you talked about like when you were in your early 20s where there were things then that help sort of fortify your vision, your worldview on the work you do now. But then I hear what you're saying about your childhood, and I'm like, how much is what Andrew is doing now and what drives him and what has this insatiable desire to want to be the best and to do something that hasn't been done before is in a way an ode to your dad as a testament of how grateful you are of him and this idea, Andrew, that you never want to let him down.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's it's tough to look at in some capacities because I'm the youngest of four total. So I have three other siblings. I have two brothers and a sister, both of which or all of which were from different marriages from my mom and dad's side. I always joke that I was, the uh-oh of the family because my next closest brother's 10 years older. My next brother's 15 years older, and my sister's 18 years older than me. So I was an uncle at a very early age and stuff like that. But, I got to have a very special relationship with my dad that I don't think my siblings even in wide capacity got to have with both my mom and my dad. My mom, as I mentioned, had a pretty significant battle with multiple sclerosis that led to her death when I was 25 years old.
Mm.
And through that whole time, my dad and I had no choice but to lean on each other. Like
Yeah.
we didn't know, like from him, learning how to cope with it as like his partner is struggling. Me as I'm, kind of witnessing my mom deteriorating from homeroom mom hero in fifth grade
Mm.
to, where she is now, God rest her soul. It was a challenge. And you're forced to kind of grow up a lot, pretty early on. And we both grew up, through different points of our life together in a big way. And we learned a lot, not only like with each other, but together we learned a lot of the same lessons. So many people always talk about, oh, my mom's my best friend, my dad's my best friend, but we went through life in a very unique method that I don't think, and I'm thankful that most people hopefully don't experience. It was a really unique and rather volatile, adolescence in some ways. Don't get me wrong, those listening and who knew me in high school and college, like I certainly came from a very lucky middle to upper class life. Like, and I'm no stranger to calling that out. Like, I am for lack of a better term, and to not make this a political discussion, I'm a privileged white male in today's society. I recognize that privilege every single day, but I'll be damned if I did not culturally surround myself in situations and with people and with learnings that brought me to be a better human and a better professional and a better husband and even a better father to how I am today. So to kind of go back to your original point, I think experience drives, the outcome of where we want to, kind of set our goals at certain points in our lives. Yeah, of course, I want to be the best version of myself for my father, but in a large part, due to how he was as a father to me, my focus has transitioned in the last few years to being the best version of myself for my wife, but also being the
Okay.
best version of myself for my 3-year-old son Kanan and my newborn daughter Scotia.
Oh,
And that's in this industry, Brian, as you know best, it's
yeah.
hard. It's really hard with the amount of travel, with the amount of hours. Like I get text messages today. When are you going to make time for Kanan? You're traveling, you're doing this. And I'm like, I'm trying so hard to be my best for everybody. And it's never good enough. But, that still does not allow me to stop and complain. Like my dad never stopped and complained, right? So, that really is what it's about, is like taking the groundwork of what he kind of positioned for me and just adapting it that much stronger now to this like modern day version of who I am, which is still in a big part who he is as well.
It's becoming more crystal clear the 25-hour per day schedule that you have and all the commitments and all the things that you have to do work wise, family wise, and this drive that keeps you going. It's what pushes you. And part of it came from your childhood, and part of it is what's moving you forward right now. I'm thinking about also compassion and with the competition of your work and with the newness of trying new things and meeting people and the hustle and the grind that comes with building something. How do you with how driven you are, how do you keep drive close to you but also compassion, self-compassion? How do you find a way to, in the drive and in the chase, that is where you are reaping a lot of benefits right now and will continue to do so, where you still can have, I struggle with this personally, drive and self-compassion, and how that can kind of, those two tenets can play off of each other.
Yeah, I mean it's a brilliant question because, as I mentioned, being from Southeast Virginia and more of a blue collar community, if you will, I was born around the yes ma'am, no ma'am, hold doors for people, community. And I still very much would like to think and reflect that's still a large part of who I am. Take that mindset and put me in meetings in New York City. It's very, very different. You
Yeah.
know, I hold doors for people and people just like storm past me and like "Arr."
Yeah.
It's like okay, cool, great. So I'm a big firm believer that you can't lose yourself. And it's almost something that is really refreshing that as you kind of live in this hurricane of emotions and everything else and what's going on, um, that part of you never changes at like the fire and core of who you are. The older I get, I realize how important that is. Um, for better or worse, I I I care too much, and I've lost a lot of clients because I have put so much more effort and emphasis on caring and over communicating and trying that it almost probably comes off as a weakness. Some people want hardcore driven results. They don't care about the fluff. They want to know how you're going to get from A to B as quickly as possible. I have a lot of clients like that right now. And it's not to say they're wrong, but what a lot of people do in our industry tend to best understand is, do you want the aggressive business person that may hit a home run or completely strike out trying and have a chip on their shoulder because of it? Or would you rather have the person that can adapt in every room and can listen, strategize, try to problem solve, and relate to what's currently unfolding and happening in front of them in real time? And that's, for me and my team, that's what we thrive off of. Like, we're very passion driven. We very much try to relate to current problems, whether it's financially, emotionally, anything else that we have with any of our clients. But we try to like do that just because we're all human. And that's what a lot of people don't tend to always remember, because it's about ego and pride and this and like, listen, I get all that. That's fine. But the big CEOs at, blue chip brands and companies, they're the same people going home to their families every night. They're the same people eating dinner. They're the same people probably dealing with the same problems that most husbands and fathers and stuff do, like me. And that connection and relatability is where you find that hook,
Yes.
right? And that's where it sticks, is people attract themselves to people that are going through similar situations as such. And you begin to trust those people. And when you trust people, you want to work with people. And then the money doesn't matter, right? It's just Andrew gets it. Like, forget everything else. Even if he doesn't understand it, he's going to do whatever he can in his power to find me the solution. And if he can't, I trust him so much that he won't waste my time or money. And he's just going to tell me that. And he'll shoot me straight, and he'll probably bring me another alternative. That's 100% what I've done in my entire career, is I've just tried to blend humility and authenticity into everything that I do. I am not an expert. I hate the term expert. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I never ever like when people use that term, because it's a complete fraudulent term in today's society. If you are an expert and you are so perfect in what you do, then you have stopped taking the ability and initiative to continue learning. You have maxed out on your curriculum or opportunity to grow and evolve. And what you are telling everyone else is that you are so good that anything that you say is fact, final, and true. That's just not the world we live in anymore. And, I know a lot of people who are really good at their jobs. That's great. Um, but it's paid for me to be a lot better person. That translates to being the best professional that I possibly can be.
Damn, I can tell, man, you are extremely sharp. And as we wrap up this conversation, the relatability, the authenticity, what I can take most from this conversation is the realness, the answers, how thought provoking they have, how deep you go with your responses. And, there are some that are executives at different places where it's like, okay, that is a PR answer. But I think why people love you guys is because you are who you say you are. You are who you present yourself as. And there's nothing beyond that. There's no secrets. We are who we say we are. Relatability, realness, it comes across. That's why you have what you have as far as the clientele, which will only grow. And how fun was this? Andrew Stallings, I'm Bryan Fenley. Thanks so much for doing this.
I appreciate you, Brian. Thank you.